Have you ever looked at someone and thought, this is it? This is forever, only for them to vanish without a word, after your wedding night? That's what happened to me. One day I was a glowing bride dancing in my white dress. The next I woke up alone, confused and humiliated. No goodbye. No explanation. Just gone. But here's the thing about ghosts. They think they can disappear without consequences. He thought he could just erase me. What he didn't know. I was about to become his worst nightmare. And when karma hit, it hit hard. Hi, I'm Eva. And this is the story of how my fairy tale wedding turned into a cruel punchline, and how I turned the pain into something powerful. It was supposed to be the happiest chapter of my life. I was 27, in love and full of dreams. I'd spent months planning every detail of our wedding. The flowers, the music, the vows. I poured my soul into making it magical. And it was. At least I thought it was. I married the man I believed was my soulmate. Jake. Charming, attentive, funny. And the kind of man who made strangers smile just by walking into a room. Everyone adored him. Including me. He made me feel chosen. Safe. So when I woke up the morning after our wedding and he wasn't next to me, I didn't panic. Not at first. I thought maybe he'd gone to surprise me with breakfast or meet a relative at the airport. But hours passed. My calls went straight to voicemail. My texts were left undelivered. Then came the worst realization of my life. He wasn't coming back. He ghosted me. Not after a first date, not during a rocky relationship. After our wedding. But if he thought I'd cry quietly and let him vanish into the night, he didn't know who he married. Because what started as heartbreak turned into a plan. A plan to make sure he never did this to anyone again. Stick around. This isn't just a story of betrayal. This is a story of reckoning. Let me take you back to the beginning, before the heartbreak, before the wedding, before everything unraveled. I met Jake at a friend's engagement party, almost 2 years before our wedding. He wasn't even supposed to be there. He was someone's plus one, the kind of guest who just blends into the crowd. But not Jake. He stood out in a room like a flame in the dark. He was tall, had a lopsided grin, and this calm confidence that made people lean in when he spoke. And when he smiled at me from across the room, it felt like the universe had hit pause for a second. We hit it off immediately. Conversation was easy. He asked questions, really listened. He remembered small things I said. My love for old bookstores, how I hated the smell of oranges, that my mom raised me on her own. Jake made me feel like I mattered. And after so many dating disappointments, it felt refreshing to be seen. He was different. Or so I believed. Our relationship moved fast but not recklessly. He was consistent. Thoughtful. He'd drop by with my favorite snacks after work, surprise me with tickets to a show I casually mentioned loving. When I was sick, he'd bring soup and binge-watch old sitcoms with me until I felt better. It was the little things always. He met my mom after 3 months and they hit it off. She was cautious, like most single mothers are when it comes to their daughters' relationships. But even she said he seemed solid. He looks at you like you're magic, she told me once. And I believed that. By month 8 we moved in together. And by our 1-year anniversary he proposed. It wasn't a grand proposal. Just the two of us in our apartment, pizza on the coffee table, a storm outside. He told me he didn't want to wait another day without calling me his wife. I cried. He cried. We were messy and in love. At least, I was. Planning the wedding was intense, but Jake was involved every step of the way. He picked the venue with me, helped design our invitations, and even insisted on writing our own vows. Every time I looked at him during those months, I felt this overwhelming certainty. I was marrying the right person. We didn't have a huge wedding, just close friends and family, around 80 guests. It was held at a small vineyard just outside the city. The weather was perfect, the wine flowed, and everyone danced until midnight. Jake and I shared our first dance under fairy lights, barefoot, laughing like kids. My cheeks hurt from smiling. That night, when we left the venue, we checked into a cozy countryside inn. A tiny place with creaky floors and hand-painted wallpaper, the kind of spot meant for just 2 people to disappear into each other. I remember lying next to him, whispering that I couldn't wait to start our life. He kissed my forehead, said, "We already have." The next morning he was gone. At first I didn't think much of it. Maybe he went for coffee or to get something from the car. But after 15 minutes I started texting. After 30 I called. By the time an hour passed, my stomach was in knots. I asked the front desk if they'd seen him. The receptionist gave me a sympathetic look and told me he checked out that morning. Alone. I didn't want to believe it. Not Jake. Not my Jake. I tried to rationalize. Maybe an emergency? Maybe he was planning a surprise honeymoon and didn't want me to know? Maybe. But then I checked his phone location. Turned off. Social media. Gone. Every account. Vanished. Mutual friends. No one had heard from him. His apartment. Empty. Like he'd never existed. It was as if someone had pressed delete on my entire life. In the weeks that followed, I spiraled. I was humiliated. Everyone wanted answers I didn't have. Friends who had flown in for the wedding, co-workers who'd watched me plan every detail, my mother who had stood beside me as I said my vows. All of them kept asking, "Where is he? What happened?" And all I could say was, "I don't know." I wasn't just heartbroken. I was devastated. Abandoned. I questioned everything, our memories, our love, myself. I combed through every conversation, every photo, trying to find signs I'd missed. But there were none. Jake had been perfect, until he wasn't. Eventually, I stopped trying to make sense of it. I had to. It was either that or let his ghost ruin me completely. I took a leave from work. Moved back in with my mom. Tried to breathe again. The whispers around town were brutal. People speculated. Maybe I did something. Maybe he had cold feet. Maybe it was all a scam. But then something happened that cracked everything wide open. About 2 months after he disappeared, I got a message on Instagram. It was from a woman I didn't know. Her name was Natalie. And her first line read, "I think I know your husband." Or, "He told me he was single." I remember staring at the message from Natalie, reading it over and over, hoping I'd misunderstood. "I think I know your husband." Or, "He told me he was single." My fingers trembled as I typed back. Jake. Jake Matthews? Brown hair, green eyes, a scar on his right hand. She replied within seconds. "Yes. He's been seeing me for over a year." My stomach dropped. Natalie sent photos, ones I hadn't seen before. Jake with his arm around her at a restaurant. Jake helping her carry groceries. Jake holding a tiny white dog I didn't recognize. It wasn't just a fling. It looked like a life. They'd met at a startup conference in Chicago about a year ago. That would have been 4 months into our relationship. According to Natalie, he told her he was single, a remote working consultant who loved to travel. They only saw each other every couple of weeks, but he always made it feel special. Like I was the only person in his world, she said. Sound familiar? I told her everything. The proposal. The wedding. The morning he vanished. And as the story unraveled, the horror on both ends only deepened. Turns out I wasn't just a newlywed left behind. I was the other woman too. Jake had built 2 lives. One with me. One with Natalie. And who knows how many more were out there. We became detectives overnight. Natalie and I started combing through every post, email, and scrap of information we could find. What we uncovered made my blood run cold. Jake wasn't just lying. He was calculating. He used a different last name with her, Jake Monroe. Had a separate phone number. A different Instagram account. Even created a fake LinkedIn profile to support his double life. I found old receipts in our apartment that weren't for anything I'd ever seen. Meals at places I'd never been, hotel stays when he said he was traveling for work. But the worst part? He used the same lines with both of us. Same compliments. Same favorite movies. He had a script and we'd both fallen for it. It wasn't long before more women started reaching out. Natalie posted a vague TikTok about being lied to by a traveling consultant who disappeared after a major event, and the comments blew up. 3 more women messaged her. One had been dating him casually for months. Another said he ghosted her after she told him she was pregnant. Pregnant. That was the moment something inside me cracked. This wasn't heartbreak anymore. This was something darker. Something vile. I wasn't grieving a failed marriage. I was waking up from a carefully crafted scam. My emotions ricocheted wildly. Some days I cried until I couldn't breathe. Other days I felt this boiling rage that made me want to smash every photo of us. But one feeling stood out stronger than the rest. I needed to do something. He didn't just walk away. He destroyed people's lives. Natalie's. That girl who was pregnant and never heard from him again. The world needed to know who Jake really was. The betrayal wasn't just personal. It was deliberate. And it wasn't just about me, it was about a pattern. A man who targeted women, made them feel loved, and disappeared when it no longer served him. And somehow he always stayed hidden. Not this time. I kept thinking back to our wedding night. The way he held my hand during our vows. The kiss. The whispered, "Forever." And then the memory would blur into the image of his empty side of the bed the next morning. The contrast was unbearable. But it also fueled me. I started talking to a lawyer. I wanted to know if anything he'd done could be considered fraud. After all, he married me under false pretenses. We opened a joint bank account, applied for a loan together, made legal decisions as husband and wife. He disappeared without closing anything, leaving a financial mess behind. My credit score had started taking hits. There were bills I didn't recognize. Names I didn't know. I was digging through his digital remains when I found something that shifted everything. An old Dropbox folder, buried in a shared email we'd used to plan the wedding. Inside it were scanned IDs, old rental agreements, and, most disturbing of all, a spreadsheet. A literal spreadsheet of dates, locations, and initials. Almost like a schedule. There were at least 6 different women listed over a 12-month period. Some cities repeated. Some overlapped. He was running a romance scam disguised as a lifestyle. That's when the secondary conflict hit me like a brick. This wasn't just emotional manipulation. This might be criminal. I took everything to my lawyer. She said I might be able to pursue annulment or press charges if I could prove financial fraud or emotional distress with intent. That's when it hit me, he hadn't just ghosted me, he may have committed marriage fraud. I reached out to the other women. With their permission, we created a shared drive to pool screenshots, emails, travel receipts, anything we could find. I even reached out to a journalist I knew from college, someone who worked on investigative features for an online magazine. I asked, "What if I told you a man ghosted his wife on their wedding night, and had 4 other girlfriends at the same time?" She called me within the hour. The story was explosive. The journalist agreed to change our names for safety, but she dug deep. Verified accounts. Interviewed Natalie and me. Pulled marriage licenses. The whole thing was airtight. But we didn't publish it right away. We had one more move to make, something personal. I wanted Jake to know we knew. That we weren't victims. That we weren't staying quiet. And I wanted to see his face when the mask finally cracked. So we planned it. I wasn't just looking for closure anymore. I wanted justice. Not the kind you get in court, although I had a lawyer working on that. No, I wanted emotional justice. The kind that made Jake feel even a fraction of the humiliation, confusion, and void he left me in when he vanished. I wasn't looking to hurt him physically, but I wanted the world to see him. To see who he really was behind the charm, the tailored suits, and the Instagram filters. But I couldn't do it alone. That's when Natalie and I, along with 2 of the other women Jake had deceived, formed a group chat that we jokingly called the X-Files. It was mostly memes and screenshots at first. Us comparing how he used the exact same joke on 3 different dates. But quickly it became a war room. We made a list of everything we knew. Jake was using multiple aliases. Jake Matthews, Jake Monroe, even Jason M. He had 3 phones and at least 4 separate email accounts. He traveled between states using rental cars booked under different names. He was freelancing as a marketing consultant, but none of the companies he claimed to work with had records of him. And, this was the kicker, he was currently staying with a new woman, Claire, who had no idea about any of this. Claire had posted a photo on her locked Instagram. A friend of Natalie's followed her and took a screenshot. There he was, Jake, holding a drink, standing next to Claire with that same goddamn half-smile. The caption said, "Celebrating our 6-month anniversary, 2 hearts, he makes me believe in love again." That's when it clicked. Jake didn't just ghost me. He was a serial emotional con artist. He didn't just vanish, he restarted. So we came up with a plan. A multi-layered one. Step 1. Legal paperwork. My lawyer filed for annulment on the grounds of fraud. We included documentation from other victims and the spreadsheet we found in his Dropbox. While it wasn't enough for criminal charges yet, it created a legal trail, one that would come in handy later. Step 2. The exposure trap. Natalie created a fake online persona, someone that would absolutely catch Jake's attention. We named her Lily, a freelance model and entrepreneur who just moved into town. The profile was flawless. Curated photos, witty captions, even a fake dog for added charm. We targeted Jake's most used dating app account, one we knew he used frequently in Chicago. Within 2 days, Lily matched with him. His first message? "Hey beautiful, you look like trouble." Classic Jake. Natalie, posing as Lily, played along. She was new, flirty fun. After a few days of chatting, Jake asked for her number. She gave him one we'd set up using a burner phone. He started texting right away. Love bombing from day one. We played it out for a week. Lily told him she wanted to meet in person. Jake of course jumped at the chance. He even offered to drive over, since she said she didn't know the area well yet. He chose a wine bar downtown. Friday night. That was the setup. Step 3. Public exposure. While Lily reeled him in, I worked with the journalist. She had everything ready. A full exposé complete with screenshots, quotes from multiple women, even an interview with a small business owner who said Jake took a deposit for marketing services and never delivered. It was powerful and heartbreaking. But we weren't dropping it online yet. First, we wanted him in the room. The night of the meetup, we arrived at the bar early. I wore a wig, brown and short, totally different from my usual look. Natalie had a scarf wrapped around her hair. 2 of the other women sat at the bar pretending not to know us. And the journalist? She was in the back booth, camera ready. When Jake walked in holding a single red rose, I swear the entire room tilted. He was wearing the same blazer he wore the night he proposed to me. I nearly lost it right there. But I kept it together. He looked around expecting Lily. And instead he saw us. Me, Natalie, and 2 other women he'd ghosted. I stepped forward first. "Hi Jake. Or is it Jason today?" His face lost all color. For the first time since I met him, he had nothing to say. Natalie added, "You remember me, right? The one you told you were flying to Europe with." Then the third woman, Rachel, pulled out her phone and said, "Smile. You're about to be famous." Jake stammered. "What is this? A setup?" "Oh, it's Justice," I said. He turned and bolted. Literally ran out of the bar. We didn't follow. We didn't need to. Because less than 24 hours later, the article went live. Step 4. Viral Justice. The headline read, "Serial groom, the man who married and ghosted his wife, and 4 other women." The response was immediate. Hundreds of thousands of shares within days. People were outraged. News outlets picked it up. True crime TikTokers dissected the story frame by frame. Jake's name started trending on Twitter. Someone even made a Reddit thread mapping out his locations and aliases. One of the businesses he'd scammed publicly commented, "He owes us $3,000. Glad someone finally caught this guy." His freelance clients dropped him. His rental accounts were flagged. And Claire, the current girlfriend? She dumped him the moment she read the article. Jake's reputation? Obliterated. He tried to message Natalie. Me. His first text. "You ruined my life." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. He did that all by himself. I wish I could say Jake disappeared into oblivion after the exposé went viral. That he vanished like the coward he always was. But narcissists don't just go away quietly, not when their image has been shattered. He tried to fight back. A week after the article went live, he posted a long, melodramatic Facebook update on a new profile he made. One where he'd blocked all of us but forgot to make it private. Lucky us. In it, he called us bitter women, claimed we'd exaggerated everything, and that I had been the one who pressured him into marriage. He even tried to say the wedding wasn't legal, despite the very real marriage certificate sitting in my lawyer's office. But here's the thing about the internet. When the truth is well documented and supported by receipts, screenshots, emails, and other women backing it up, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. People weren't buying his sob story. At all. Comment after comment called him out. "Bro, you scammed 5 women. That's not bad luck in love. That's pathological. You literally ghosted your wife the morning after your wedding. Take a seat." This man is the definition of walking red flags. More women started coming forward too. One messaged me privately. She had gone on 3 dates with him in 2021 before he mysteriously stopped replying. Another said he had promised her a job opportunity that never materialized. It was like lifting a rock and watching all the worms come crawling out. But while the internet dragged him through the digital mud, real consequences were brewing offline. Small Blue Diamond, he was investigated for fraud. Once the story gained traction, a financial recovery firm that tracks emotional and romantic scams took interest. They looked into the credit card he opened under my name, and the deposits he took from clients under false pretenses. Nothing massive enough for a prison sentence, but enough for him to face financial penalties and multiple lawsuits. Small Blue Diamond, he lost all freelance work. The companies he claimed to consult for ghosted him. One posted a statement on LinkedIn saying, "We've never worked with this person. Any claims he's made about partnerships are false." Others began reviewing contracts and dropping him quietly. His income dried up in weeks. Small Blue Diamond, his friends and family? Silent. The ones who did know about the wedding, his cousin, a few college friends, reached out to me, apologized, said they had no idea he'd vanished. His mother never responded to the certified annulment papers, but she signed them. The ultimate hit. His new girlfriend, Claire, the one he was living with when we exposed him, moved out of their apartment. She left a note. I didn't get to read it, but I heard through Natalie that she called him a parasite with Wi-Fi. And that brings us to the most satisfying part. Bomb, the final blow. Months later, I received an invitation to a panel discussion on emotional abuse and digital dating manipulation. The journalist who wrote our story had nominated me and Natalie to speak about our experience. It felt surreal, sitting on that stage in front of hundreds of women and a few men, talking about how a man once ghosted me after our wedding night. I held nothing back. The heartbreak, the shame, and then the rage that turned into justice. After the panel, a young woman came up to me in tears. She said she'd nearly moved in with a man who acted exactly like Jake. Charming, mysterious, emotionally evasive. But she'd read our article and it woke her up. He left him. Blocked him. Reclaimed her life. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was closure. Healing. Empowerment. I didn't need Jake to apologize. I didn't need him to beg or explain or offer anything at all. He had already lost everything that mattered to him. His reputation. His income. His carefully manufactured web of lies. The adoration he craved from every woman he manipulated. He was exposed for who he truly was. A fraud in a tailored suit, a man with nothing real behind the smile. Me. I got to walk away stronger. Not because of what he did, but because I chose to face it. To fight back. To turn my pain into something bigger than me. Looking back, I used to think the most painful part of Jake ghosting me was the silence. The absence of answers, the coldness where warmth had once lived. But I've come to realize it wasn't the silence that broke me. It was the lie. The performance. The way he made me believe I had found forever, only to vanish before the ink on our wedding certificate had dried. But what he didn't count on was that I would survive him. No, more than survive, I thrived. I took what he did and instead of letting it crush me, I used it to rise. I learned how to protect myself emotionally, legally, and financially. I learned the power of truth. Of speaking up. Of not staying silent even when you feel embarrassed or ashamed, or scared no one will believe you. And the wildest part? I'm not angry anymore. Not even a little. Because Jake exposed himself when he ghosted me. All I did was hold up a mirror. I'll be honest. If you're someone watching this and you've gone through something similar, whether it's ghosting, betrayal, or a slow unraveling of your trust in someone you loved, let me say this. You are not foolish for loving someone who hurt you. You are not weak for giving your heart away. You were just honest in a world full of people playing pretend. And that honesty, that vulnerability, it's your strength. It's what made Jake so scared. It's what made the truth hit so hard. In the end, he lost everything because of who he really was. I gained everything because I finally chose to be who I really am. So thank you, Jake. Thank you for disappearing. Because in your absence I found myself. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been ghosted, betrayed, or had your heart broken in a way that made you question your worth, please don't go through it alone. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share your story. Let's make this a space where no one feels isolated by their pain. And if you want to see more raw, real stories like this, stories about revenge, healing, and powerful comebacks, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single one. Because trust me, there are so many more stories that deserve to be told.